Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Welcome to the community live stream. This is the show that helps take a look behind the answers on the community, inspired by your questions and inquiries and problems that you post on the community, and I take those and turn them into a topic. And in this case, I'm taking a whole bunch of lessons that I learned about Flow Designer. Who am I? Well, my name is... on the title. Sorry, I got a new keypad over the weekend, so I'm learning where the new layouts are for all of these titles and whatnot. So my name is Chuck Tomasi. I'm a senior developer evangelist at ServiceNow. Been here for about 10 years, customer for a couple of before that. So go way back into the dinosaur eras in ServiceNow, and that's where I got my start in late 2008. So happy to be here, happy that you're here, and looking forward to sharing some of my tips on Flow Designer. That's what I've been doing for the last several weeks, converting a lot of legacy script into flows and discovering some things along the way that aren't necessarily documented, but still very valuable. And this is my way of sharing that with you so that you can take those tips and tricks and journey of discovery and be a more effective ServiceNow administrator and developer. That's what the show is all about. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. Don't forget, typical YouTube stuff. Click the like button, subscribe, notifications. You know what to do there. It's all at the URL you see there on the bottom of the screen. We also do this as Twitch in the background. Good morning to everybody who's joining me. Wow, they're jumping on the live stream like crazy. Alan and Riaz and Drew, Sekar, thank you very much for joining. It warms my heart to get up in the morning and be able to share this with you. You are the reason I am here. This is if you didn't watch and you didn't use ServiceNow, there'd be no point in me doing this. So I feel very honored and very privileged to be able to do that. So Twitch is also a backup. I invite you to go over to the developer portal if you haven't done so already. Get yourself a free personal developer instance. You can learn more about Flow Designer and building flows and Integration Hub without any risk to your organization. This is your private sandbox. If you wish to invite friends, you can do that, but I recommend everybody get their own. That way you can streamline the change management. Say, you know what? This instance needs to be Z-booted, which is what we call resetting it back to factory defaults. And you can Z-boot it anytime you want. There's learning plans, there's documentation, there's blog articles, there's all kinds of great stuff that you can get over at the developer portal if you haven't done so already. One of the things you can get, obviously, is information about meetups, which I have another screen here. Still doing the screen layout here. Get the, where'd it go? Meetup title. Over at meetup.com/pro/ServiceNow dev program. I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but join that and you will get notifications. Look for areas, look for chapters in your area. If there isn't one, you could start one. I know this was really designed around the time when we could get together in person, face to face, but it still works very, very well virtually. I am now able to attend more of them. There's one going to be held in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania later this week that I'm very much looking forward to. There are others. I think we had Vancouver a couple of weeks ago. So I'm able to do this without hopping on a plane. We can go to various chapters. Some are talking very in-depth developer scripty stuff, and others are saying, hey, I want to talk about surveys. Doesn't matter. This is your chapter. These are your people. This is a time to get together and discuss things. Not so much like a ServiceNow user group or a snug, but developer talk. We help support the content. You pick the date. We used to say pick the venue, but the venue is even easier now. You don't have to pick a venue. You don't have to go scouting around. Do we get a room at the library? You can do this all from your home. It's even easier now. So join the community, join the meetups, and be part of that, and you can even start scouting around for another chapter. I know Drew had a wonderful meetup yesterday. It wasn't part of the meetup program, but it was a nice meetup that we had. I got up bright and early at 6:30 on Sunday morning because it was at 7 p.m. IST. Had a wonderful discussion all about resources for learning to be go from admin to developer, or if you're new to the platform. We really ranged on a lot of things. Thank you very much for that content. And I believe you recorded that and posted it as well. So if you missed it, you can always go back and watch. A couple hours worth of presentation and good Q&A. Really good Q&A on that as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Let's get on with some of the other stuff. We won't be doing much JavaScript in here. I think there's a little. I got to remember what I put together for notes. I'm looking at them now. But if there is any script, You can always find this, you can always learn more about JavaScript by going to the URL here, bit.ly/sn-learn-js. That link came up more than once in yesterday's meetup. So got some good reception on that. People are giving very positive feedback. If you want to learn JavaScript, not just, hey, I want to learn JavaScript, you can do that on Udemy, you can do that on Code Academy, you can do that on W3 Schools. This gives you the ServiceNow intricacies about doing that. If I do write any code today, it will be available on the GitHub repo that you see there, sn-cls. And if you're just really getting started, or you want to dig more into Flow Designer, take a look at the ebook. I know there are hard copies floating around out there somewhere. Wow, the green almost disappears onto the screen. The letters sort of fall off. Ooh, you can see through the book. No Code Apps for Dummies is available out there. The green on the book must be the same color as the green screen behind me. Okay, that being said, let's get started with what we're going to talk about today. We have Flow Designer, and I want to talk about see if I can get all 6 of these in. I can't make any promises. That's why it says Flow Designer Tips 1. I am going to be learning more, and if I can't get everything in today, I will definitely be extending this out in the upcoming days and weeks. So look forward to that. Good mornings. Wow, the good mornings are still rolling in. Thank you very much for joining. This puts a big smile on my face and makes this even more fun. So number 1 that I learned was a while ago. One of my colleagues in Germany showed me this, and I don't know why I didn't see it. It might be one of those mental processes where once you start doing something, you just sort of stick with it because it works. So I have a table here of courses. We talked about this a few weeks ago, where I've got projects and programs and courses and tasks, and just a hierarchical table when I was showing you cascade delete rules. So this is a course record, and it has on it an approval field. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. Approval is a choice field, and it is linked to the choices on the sysapproval_approver table. There's a choice of, is this requested, is it not requested, is it approved, is it rejected? You get the idea. Rather than copying all of those onto my table's choice list, I linked to them, and I think I've shown you that before. So if I go to configure dictionary, we'll zoom back out, go to the dictionary entry for that, real quick review or refresher on how to do that. Underneath, you have to turn on the advanced view. So down here, if it's not on, click advanced view. Down in this corner, it is already on, and my dependent field, my choice list specification says, go to this table and get the choices from this other field. Very handy if you have a lot of common choices. Some people, instead of using checkboxes for true false fields, they use yes, no as a choice field. That's fine, but you don't have to put in choices every time saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. You can point them all to a common yes, no parent and then maintain them that way. Much easier. So that is my approval field. And the reason I have that is because this table is not extended from task. If it were extended from task, I would have an approval field already for me. But I did not. This was a discrete table, and as a result, why does that feel like 150%? Nope, that's 125. Okay. As a result, something is zoomed in a little crazy. I don't know exactly what's going on here. There. Whew. My zooming thing got a little out of control. As a result, I don't have an approval field, so I made one and linked it back to that other one, so I have a common set of states on that approval. Now, what I would like to do is just set up a simple approval for this in Flow Designer. To say, look, when a course gets to the state, and I have a state field over here where approval is required, very common thing you might do with incidents or changes or whatever you got for your process, you might need to get an approval. So I brought up Flow Designer. Flow Designer is our workflow tool, workbench, whatever you want to call it, that we introduced in Kingston. That's like 2.5 years ago, I think. Well, it's been a while, at least 18 months ago. If I count the releases, yeah, that's a while ago, because we're now in Orlando. Kingston, London, Madrid, you get the idea. Let me get the flow for the course approval up here. And you can see if you're familiar with the older workflow, it works considerably different than the old workflow. This is more like a super business rule or scheduled job that you can create. Here is a trigger at the top. I'm going to trigger this whenever the course is updated and the state changes to approval. You can see that all right there. Nothing magic happening, and run only if it's not currently running. There's a number of choices in here. I may want to run it once and only once and be done with it. With approvals, you often find that if it's rejected, you want to go back and reapprove it. Well, the important part is not in the trigger, it's this ask for approval. And I got that by going to the big plus, going to action, and ask for approval is right there. Configure it. It says what table? So I said course. The approval field, very handy. If you fill this in, it's self-maintaining. You don't have to go down here into the state fields after an approval or rejection and set it. It's already maintaining itself because I linked it back to the same values on the sys approval, sys approval, sys approval underscore approver table. Okay. That's where all of the approvers are stacked up. Whenever somebody says, show me my approvals, it comes from that table. I hard-coded it to say I am the approver, but here's the thing that I was doing originally. Look here. It says rules. Approve when anyone approves. And it could be a data pill, it could be a hard-coded group or a user, whatever. That entity needs to approve it. I didn't even notice that there were other choices in here that said approve, reject, or the final one, approve or reject. Call me blind, call me just creature of habit. Some of you may have done this also, you may not have seen this, but this allows me to do both at once. So if I pick that, this changed to anyone approves or rejects. Now it's not, this lightning crazy, wow, that's a mind changer. It's just one of those things that I didn't see and I thought I'd pass it on to you. So when I'm done that, now my flow logic can say if approval state, drag that over, you can see this is pretty easy to build this stuff, is approved, then I'm going to go down this branch, else if approval state is rejected. You can build practically as fast as you can say it. This one I'm just going to put on a log. I'm not going to change the state of the record or anything. So we'll just do a log and say thank you for your approval. Thank you for your approval. Or this one will say it's been rejected. And of course, we could also put in an else because we have an if, an else if. For programmers, it's pretty simple logic. For non-programmers, it's not too hard to figure out. Okay, sorry, it was rejected. It was, we're having a problem with the keyboard this morning. Rejected. And we'll also put in an else just to close this whole thing out as a default case. Another log might be handy. It was something else. It was something else. Okay, not the best logs, but you get the idea of how you can take this one approval and do multiple things at once. You don't have to have, well, was it approved? If it not, then you could only do an if else on that, really, because we'll just go on. Let me do a quick save on that. Always save your work, save early, save often, and give a test. Going to test it on course record, I don't know, this one. When you do a test, just as a quick reminder, it skips the trigger, so I don't have to wait for the trigger condition to happen. I'm not updating the record. If I was doing an update record action, then it would be updating the record. So let's click the execution details, and you can see here it is waiting for the approval, which means if I go over to my favorites, I think I have the approvals list in here. I should be at the top here. Yep. State is requested, and I hit approve. Don't worry about the write operation thing. That's kind of bogus in this case. Refresh on this. Give it a second. Sometimes the execution details are event-driven and need a second. Here we go. Evaluated to true. Did the log. I can see in the log that it says, thank you for your approval. The rest of the stuff was skipped. Just never ran. Didn't need to because it was evaluated as false. So approvals have that choice in the rules to say approve or deny, or approve or reject. Easy as that. That was the first one. Okay, that one I didn't spend a whole lot of time figuring out. Somebody showed it to me. Some of these cost me an afternoon of going, what is going on and why is this? So somebody did ask this in, what was it? It was a meetup or something recently. I remember it was asked verbally. No, it was in the middle of Tech Now. That's what it was. Michael Slobodnik on the 23rd of June. If you haven't watched Tech Now episode 76, I invite you to watch that. A lot of good information about Flow Designer and Integration Hub in the past 3 releases. So Madrid, New York, Orlando, a lot of great stuff. More coming out. I've got an episode coming out at the end of the month. I'll have that sort of that splash screen that we go through at the intro soon. So about Paris. So Paris features, if you're not a developer, get signed up for the developer program. That's one of the benefits you get is a notification to be part of the early access on your PDI. And you also get to see the Tech Now before everybody else, because if you miss it there, you got to wait until we do our market launch with all the other announcements and you kind of miss out. So don't miss out. Sign up for that. That was my quick plug. Okay, one of the questions that came up in there was, hey, when I do a lookup record, and it doesn't find the record, my flow stops. So let me see if I can find this real quick. It was called, maybe I don't have one in here already. Let's just show matching on my flows for this app. Get all courses. No, I don't think I made one for this one. Did I? I'm checking my notes real quick just to see if it was there. Never mind then, we'll create one. So let's create a flow. And we'll call this Lookup course, just because it's simple and I'm not feeling very imaginative. I am going to, doesn't matter what I'm just doing this as a test, so I'm going to just say run this once today at 3 a.m. is fine because it's not going to do the trigger. I'm just going to test it. You can run this on email coming into the system. Those are fun. Now, if I do a lookup record, and I say action, lookup record. I say, just go get a specific record from the course table. And I say my filter condition is name starts with CS. If you look at my course table, I'm going to go back here to my history. There's my courses. I have a CS 210. And I run that, and just below it I will put a log the course name. Action, log, course, name, boom. Okay, pretty easy. Just to say, yep, I ran it, and I test that. Well, first I'll save it, then I'll test it. Lookup record is basically a Flow Designer way to do a glide record query. It's a query to say, go get me this record. And when it works well. So we run the test, and time passes, click that, and it says, I completed your lookup record, and I log your message, and I print your course name. So you think, well, that's wonderful, that's great. But then the condition changes, or the data changes, and I say starts with TR, I'll start with something a little more obscure, QX. And I save that and test it, and when it doesn't run, it doesn't run. It errors out. I wish it had a fault condition in here. Be nice if we did. I run the test, and you'll see, boom, no record found, therefore you get no log message. All logic after that is done. It will not run. This flow has effectively errored because you said, go get this specific record. Okay. Well, this is no fun. So I said, what else do we have in the toolbox? Because I do want to continue if I don't find that record. So the simple solution is get rid of lookup record, and go for lookup records. Okay. Plural gives you the same kind of option where you say course, table, conditions, name, starts with QX, and note down here, maximum results. Okay, maximum results, well, I'm just gonna put 1. I only need 1. So why go query a bunch of things? I just want that one record that I know I'm after. It could be by sysid, it could be by name, it could be by unique record identifier, who knows, who cares? Now, if I unzoom out of that, notice also over here, I have the course records that it found. This is an array of objects that it will come back and tell me, the table it was querying, and how many records it got. This is your flag to say, did it work or did it not? So you can do your own error trapping in here to say, if count is greater than 0, okay? Or you could say if count is 0 and throw an error. Do whatever you want. Let's take my log message and move it up there. I can drag and drop these things around, very handy. And we will put the, can't log it yet because it's an array of objects. What you must do at this point is put in the for each logic to iterate over that array of one thing. Okay, it sounds silly, but it's true. You have to do this because this is a series of records, and I am going to, once again, move this over here. So my log statement, I've now got some nesting going on, and this can get a little deeper than you may have originally planned, but it's bulletproof. If my data changes and there's no records, it won't crash. It will just not follow that path. So if I say, give me the course record name, and I say, put that there, I missed, drag and drop. We're having a wonderful day on the keyboard. Okay, this is my for each. Let's also put in an else here that can log us a quick message that says, hey, you know what? I didn't find any records. No records found. Sad face. No one's going to see that in my log anyway. Save that. And my condition still says I'm looking for things that start with QX. So it will fail. It better fail. That's what I set it up to do. Look at the execution details, and sure enough, it got down here to the else. My log says no record found, sad face. If I change the condition, however, and I do pass, lookup records, starts with CS, save and test. Always takes a little longer. This is where I usually get a drink of water. Stay hydrated. Execution details this time, said false. What happened? Did I miss something? Did I miss something? Name is CS. No, let's do starts with. I missed it. Starts with CS. I believe it can be lowercase as well. Searches are typically case insensitive, but I haven't tested that in Flow yet, so we're now testing it. All right, this time it did evaluate to true, and it got down here and iterated over my one record and said, hooray, your record that I found, all one of them is CS210. So I've got this way of branching the path to say, if I found records, go this way. If I didn't find records, go that way. As opposed to lookup record that just says, go try it. If it didn't work, it's going to error. So I find this to be a little more robust, and it wasn't the most fun thing to discover. I had this complex flow, and when it got to a lookup record, which I swear was there, but as often happens, it may be there in dev, but then you migrate all of your changes over to prod. You didn't bring the demo data or the test data or the code you need in a table over, and yeah, it happened. It happened to me on Saturday. I went, oh, rats. I forgot to get this table. So, you go back and do an export XML, import XML, get your data over from subprod to prod, and away you go. But in the meantime, your flow or whatever is not having a fun time. All right, so that's number 2 about looking up a record versus lookup record versus lookup records. Number 3, seeing more output. Okay. I do a lot of integrations. Now I'm doing even more with Integration Hub, and I wanted to see what was coming back in the payload. But after a certain point, it got chopped off. It's like the format completely changed. I went, what? Let me give you a quick example. Here's my flows. Here's my serialized output test, and there's nothing in there. Let me see if I can get this. Test the other flow. Wrong flow. I want look up videos. I don't remember making that one. Maybe I didn't save that one. Look up something. Nope. Maybe it was under lookup course and I named it wrong. Nope, that was the one that I just created. Okay, we're going to start from scratch. I thought I had a little bit of this set up. Let's go and create this. I may have a oh, never mind. It's an action. It's not a flow. Pardon me. So there's my simple array. Let me go to, you can test actions now, by the way. It's very handy. So typical thing that I would often do as I make these videos, I like to keep tabs on them in YouTube. So I go and look up videos. And what you can do is, instead of looking up a video by specific ID, you can send it a whole list of comma-separated values, and it will look up to 50 at a time. I went, great, that's wonderful. However, when I test this and say, here's a whole string of IDs, and unfortunately I don't have this in my macro editor somewhere, I'm going to have to go get it. Pardon me, I forgot to prepare one step on this thing. I am going to, fastest way to get this would probably be from Evernote. That's where it's stored. Bit of a sidetrack here. Log into Evernote. This isn't signing me up. Sign in. I think that's the right one. Go with that. And two-factor, kids, if you're not doing two-factor, you should. I keep them all on my watch. Evernote. I just need a big, long string of information out of these notes. So I apologize for the little sidebar. Why do we have lookup record? Because there are going to be records that you know will always be there, like the property instance underscore name. If that's gone, you have more serious problems than just your flow crashing. Okay. If you've got 100% certainty confidence that lookup record will always be there, you can do it. As we wait for Evernote, we'll have another little conversation. Looking through the questions, a lot of good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for joining. I just need a really long list of video IDs, and I apologize, I forgot to set this up beforehand. So as we watch Evernote's status bar go, we will go to not my voicemail message, community live stream outline. Come on, there it is. Down here is proof. There's what we're going to cover. That's what we just did cover. And use these. Womp. Get those. Okay. Back to my other browser window. Thank you. Flow Designer. Paste. Just a bunch of comma-separated values that I'm throwing at YouTube and saying, tell me, what did you find? And it will run up to 20 of these in the test, even though I gave them 50. And I notice that that's not exactly a readable output. I was expecting a nice JSON thing that said, here's your list of 20 things that you asked for, and return them. It did not. And I went, what is going on? Because if I shorten that up to, oh, let's make it something less significant, like, what is that, about 10? Run that test. What I would expect is, and I played around with this. I went, can I do 3? Can I do 4? Can I do 5? It stops at 5. What's going on? Let's open the data stream action and, nope. It was, what was that? Still craziness. Let's just try 3 of them. This is exactly what I was doing like a week ago, saying, what is going on here? Why am I not seeing my nice formatted JSON output like, oh, I didn't want to open the action. Pardon me, we already saw what that was. I want to open the log. There, that's what I expect to see. And you can see some of these are kind of long. Like, whoa, man, there's a lot of allowed or blocked regions in this video. So as I built my integration, I was inspecting it, and I'd add another element, and then suddenly it stopped working. I went, what's going on? Turns out there's a property for that, like many other things. The idea is if it gets too big, we don't want to be wasting a whole lot of memory and time with that. And the property name is, in sys properties, sys_properties list is where you find a lot of this stuff. It is called, where'd it go? com.snc.process_flow.reporting.serialized. It is documented. Val size limit. There it is. If you look for Flow Designer properties, you'll find this. It's actually, I think it's in the properties page. Let's go check. Okay, Flow Designer. Under Flow Designer, there is properties, and what did I set it to? Specify the level of diagnostics. The maximum amount of iterations? No. Maximum number of records returned? No. Okay. Well, that wasn't it. When the serializing operation, because I've got mine set to 4,000. It is in the global app, so let's go, we'll run over to global real quick. Change that to, it defaults to 16384. And for those of you who know your base 2 numbers, that is 4,000 hex. Now, if you need it bigger, you can make it bigger. For example, double it, 32768 would be 8,000 hex. Going way back into the 80s for these numbers. And let's try the test again with my big bad list of video IDs and watch what happens. I've said, you know what? You can show me more than 4K of characters. You can show me a lot more. And when I do that, when I collect the right thing, execution details, video stream, I now have my output patterns with all 0 through 19, which is 20 records, showing me what I want. Simple property, show more. So if you run into the case where your actions are not showing the right thing, doesn't necessarily mean it's working with it. It's not an integration hub thing specifically. You could be creating a complex object, an array of objects, an array of strings, and it just gets too big to show. If you start seeing the output go a little weird when you're looking at the execution details, check that property. It's documented. I'll have it in the links in the show notes. So don't worry about memorizing that big, ugly thing. What's the formatted tab then? So the formatted tab, when I went down here and said this, formatted is if it can format it in a nice way. It's already JSON. The raw text is already formatted, so that's not going to get you anything. I believe that was with XML. I got to check. Sometimes it does some things, and I haven't figured out what the exact use case is there. I'm sure somebody with more Flow Designer acumen than me can give you that answer. Let's move on to number 4. We are cruising through these, and we're doing great on time. Duration fields. Okay, familiar with a duration field? I am, because I like to get durations on my videos. So duration fields, I think I have, I don't know if I put, yeah, I put one on the course table. What I wanted to do, again, going to my YouTube example, is go to YouTube, and YouTube has a duration on the videos. It's in a crazy format. I think it's ISO 8509 or something. It says PT 3M24S, which means 3 minutes 24 seconds. I've written a script include function to change that into a glide date time. You get the idea. Well, what I wanted to do was say, here is my course table, here is my duration field, and you can see if I do show duration, it is a glide duration. So I merely went along and built an action to convert the duration and then save the duration. So let's go back to Flow Designer and look at the notes, run the subflow, course duration. So let's go to subflows. Did I change my scope back? I did not. This would probably be nice, although it's not as critical in Flow Designer because each flow has its own flow. So, or its own application. Show matching and update duration. I have a subflow. Okay, and I pass it a course record. Subflows are very handy. We've talked about them before. Get duration is my custom action. And it says, what would you like to do? Well, this one is actually hard-coded to 2 minutes. I will show you. There's no great secret about this. And then after I get the duration, I have a data field here of type duration. See this? Duration, duration. Everything's making sense because it's a duration field. Or so I thought. You know this is going for a twist, right? In the action. This is a duration. This is a duration. In the action. Let's pop that out. In my real action, I was getting the YouTube variable, turning it into a duration field, and then saying, here, pass this back. It's a nice day, and all this fun stuff. Okay, see this code? Pretty straightforward. I set a glide duration class type variable, and then I pass it back, and my output variables are duration, duration, everything's cool. I'm passing it out of the script. I'm passing it through the edit outputs, through the action, passing it out as a duration, and you would think life is good. When I test it, it's hard-coded, of course, to 2 minutes. I wish I had a course that was 2 minutes. You go, hey, looks like things are running, right? The action's saying it's 2 minutes. You're waiting for it, aren't you? Where's the problem, Chuck? The problem is on this guy who says duration is going to use the duration out of here. And when I test this on my CS210 course, and I wait, and it says, yep, I ran, and yep, the value put in the duration field was 2 minutes, and I go check the record, and it says, nothing was updated. Did you do it or not? You said you did. What's going on? Reload the form, try it. Nope, this should have a 2 in it, a 02 to be more precise. Why isn't this working? What is wrong with our duration fields? Well, here's the crazy part. It's not really a duration field. The action should not, and I think Goran ran into this like a week before I did, which was kind of funny because he said, yeah, that's the internal person pointed me at Goran's Slack thread and went, here, this might help. I was like, okay, so I'm not the only one. Change a couple of things. One, this should not return a glide duration object. It needs to return a string, and the string is formatted in one of those duration values. Okay, just like you see the input here, I'm going to blow that up so you can see it. It's day, hours, minutes, seconds. And I am going to still set it that way, but I'm going to add a couple of things in here because there's two different things happening. Day value is going to be the gd.getDay part. That's a method from glide duration. That gets me the 0, 1, 2, 3. Now, I hard-coded this to 2 minutes, so it better return a 0. And the other part is gd.get. Oh, I'm sorry. This is, I did that backwards. This is getDay part. Named my variables poorly. Not getDay party. That would be way too much fun. This is getDurationValue. That's what gets the hours, minutes, seconds. Why getDurationValue doesn't return the day part, I don't know. But I've had to stick these two together, and for whatever reason. If you just get the duration value and you try and stick this in, you're going to see some weird things with that day value. This is maybe another flow thing because I only see it in flow when I'm analyzing, the output pieces. It was saying like negative 10,413 days and 2 minutes. Like, okay, that's when I said I'm going to forcibly get the day part on you, and it's always going to be right. So this then becomes day part plus a space plus day duration value. Return that as a string. So change this to a string, which is also going to kind of mess up the script outputs here. This is still a duration, but I can't drag the value on there. So let's edit outputs, change that to a string, confirm that it is changing, put the script, gotta exit edit mode, and put that there. Now everybody's talking string to string to string, except for the subflow. Now I do need to publish that because this subflow wants to know about it. And it says, all right, I'm getting your duration. Now, look over here. Duration is now a string. And what do you want to do with the course record? Well, I am going to set the duration field. Let's take that out just because I don't trust it. But I can set duration with the data pill picker to the value of get duration. Still using the data pill, still going to work. How a string fits into a duration field, I don't know, because normally you can't mix and match these data types, like putting a reference field onto a choice list. It'll say, no, 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 it's not the right data type, but this one does work. I test it, I run it. Please provide a value for course. Well, apparently I didn't. Oh, I'm not even looking at what I'm doing here. Test. Oh, this was another odd thing that I found out. See how it says CS210? And you try running it, it goes, no, give me a different course. You just clear it out and pick the same thing. I don't know why it does that on consecutive tests. So now, look what it says for the duration down here. It's in the duration string time format. Much different than just saying 2 minutes. That's like the display value. Right? Okay, that doesn't work, and it doesn't work to map it in. Think about when you're doing like a reference field, a display value versus the value of the sys-ID. They're two different things. Duration fields kind of work like that. Only we have to set this value. This is the value of the duration field. And if I go over here, hooray, victory, we've got 2 minutes of worth of this course. So yeah, that was an afternoon of fun, and I condensed it into about 7 minutes for you. You're welcome. Let's go to number 5. I've got 6 of these. So number 5 is empty lists failing in a for each. Now I showed you earlier how you can do a lookup records, and if it returns nothing, we can still get the count. My recommendation is always put a count if you're returning an array of objects. In my case, I was returning an array of strings. Let's go back to Flow Designer, and my notes say I want to run the flow sample array test. So let's open up the flow sample array test. And again, I pre-built some of this to save you the agony and pain of watching me do this. This is an action I call sample array. And I have a checkbox down there that says return 0 length or return something. It's either going to be something or nothing. Just to show that this case is true. If you want to dig into the action, let's take a look at that. It's a very, very simple thing. It says, hey, here's an array of something. But if they check the box, I'll send that. I'll return a non-trivial list. Otherwise, I'm going to return an empty list. Now, my output variables for the script are an array of strings. And each string has an item. So I've listed an item, not very cleverly named, but you get the idea. In my case, I was returning an array of strings. And my for each was dying when it had no results, which is perfectly possible because this array was generated from a lookup, a glide record query, and the glide record query came up with nothing. Fine. But I don't want my flow to die if nothing happens. Kind of gets back to the same lookup record versus lookup records, but now I'm in control of this array of objects. Doesn't happen for lookup records. We saw that. When the list was 0, it still said, all I'm returning is the list and my outputs and the list, and I'll show you what happens if you test it and go, yeah, return a non-zero length. Always test your actions before you put them on flows or subflows. And it goes, here's your answer. Same thing we saw before with a nice JSON format. It goes, there's nothing in it. Okay, that's lovely. But in my subflow, my for each is going to run along that list and then log them out. And right now, I have this set to return a non-zero length. Probably could have labeled that something a little differently. If I test this, it's going to return the list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it will create log statements to that effect. And you can see down here, it ran 10 times, and my log says, look at these, it says item 0 is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? When there is content there, it works fine. But when there is not, it's not so much fun. Let's back that up. I'm going to close some of these execution details that we had before. We're getting a few too many tabs running around here. Let's run it again. Simple array test. And this time, say return nothing. Done. Test. Run. And it runs and it says error on a for each. Like, how does a for each die? This makes no sense. It says, well, I had nothing to do, so I'm not going to do it. Like, okay, how do we get around this one? Well, as I stated earlier, put a count in, and then when you come out of your creation of this array of objects, of strings, of integers, of whatever, you know how many you got. You're in charge of making this action, so you might as well return a little extra information to be kind to yourself in the flow and be kind to the flow at the same time. Let's go into that action, and the way I would do that is create a new output variable in the script called count, make it an integer because it's going to be treated as one, and in here let's do outputs.count. I hate it when it does that. Equals outputs.list.length. Okay, that sets the list length. Now the script knows what to do with it. Now the action needs to play along too. Create a new output, same kind of thing here. So we're going to pass count, the integer count from the count that comes out of the script. Oop, can't do that yet. We have to exit edit mode, then drop the data pail into there. Save it, publish, and now our action has a little more improved output. So before we launch into a flow or a for each that's going to die, let's first do a condition that says if, just like before, nope, we need to refresh. We need to save first so that it gets the new actions. There, now count shows up. Okay, if count is not 0, then I can do my for each up here. Just make sure that it's still working. It's pulling from the list. Yep, that looks good. Anytime I move something, I always check the data pills because sometimes the references can get a little wonky depending on what you're doing. If you're deleting things above it, it may delete the references in there. Just go walk down the tree again and make sure things are right. 2.1 is an item. It's going to log that. And let's also put an else in here just like before. Else log no records found. Let's do log, come on, log, probably just type it faster at this point. Log, scroll up so you can see that, no records found, or no items found, or no list, empty list, whatever you want to put in there. Save that, test it again, ta-da, run the test, and this time it did not crash. It went down my else because I have count to save myself from myself so that the array doesn't crash. Why it does this, I don't know. It seems like the for each should just go, it doesn't. But in the interest of fostering better programming skills, you should always be doing some data checking, right? And you may want to check the case where it's a 0 or a non-zero. So do yourself a little favor. When you're building outputs that are lists of stuff, include a count of what that list is so that you can check it in the flow and take appropriate actions there. That's number 5. We have just enough time, I think, for number 6. All right, I mentioned earlier that you can do a number of triggers in Flow Designer, including emails. And I recently converted an inbound action into a flow. Because you can trigger, there's my sample email. I am totally on the wrong screen because I'm moving the wrong mouse. Okay, sample email. One of the triggers up here, you can see we've often done created, updated, scheduled. You saw me do a run once, but down here is inbound email. These run before the scripted email actions. I'm going to say this once. When there is a scriptless solution available on the platform, take it. Okay? If you've got the choice about writing script in an inbound email action, and you've got a choice about running a flow or writing a flow, write the flow. Trust me on this. If you've got a choice between writing a scheduled job in script or writing a scheduled job in flow, write it in flow. Even if you have to make a couple of custom actions, which are probably going to be this much code for an action, and that becomes a reusable component, write it in flow. Okay? Stop writing scheduled jobs unless you absolutely think you have to. You know you have to. Stop writing inbound email actions. Go ahead and maintain the old ones that are there, but create new ones in flow. Same thing with the legacy workflow. Maintain what you've got there, but create new flows in flow. I think I'm going to make a new t-shirt that says, go with the flow. All right, so this is the trigger, inbound email. It doesn't have any special creators on there. And I am going to create a to-do record. Now, one of the things I want in my record is to process the HTML body. Over on the right-hand side, you can see I've got access to my email record, and they've surfaced a number of these common data pills up to the top level. Here's body text and subject. There is a body text and subject underneath the email record, and I could get them this way. What I found a little confusing was in my script, we have inline scripting now, so flows and actions are much more flexible. You can turn it on, turn it off. Down in here is how you access those variables, the data pills, through script. There is this FD data object, and as you start to type, you can get it. This is how I would get the body of that. And I got that simply by going to FD, and look, woo, IntelliSense, type ahead, dot trigger. As you get more data pills, you'll get more choices. And then I went, all right, so we've got the from address, we've got the subject, the target record, we've got the body text. A lot of it looks like that top level stuff. But I had to drill into inbound mail. Then I hit dot. I went, oh, here we go. Now, if you've done inbound email actions via script, you know that there's two elements for the body. There's body underscore text and there's body underscore HTML. I discovered this because I was trying to process body and going, where's all my stuff? It's a skinny down version. I was forwarding something from Gmail that had a lot of HTML, including a couple of links, and I needed to parse those links. Wasn't happening with body underscore text. That's sort of the default that everybody uses. Body underscore HTML gives you all of the CSS and everything else. It's the much fuller message. Notice on this pick list, slightly behind my head, apologies about that. Let me see if I can raise that up a little bit. You can't find a body underscore HTML. It's simply referred to as body. So I am going to put in the description for my new to-do the email body, which is going to be a lot of HTML, but that's okay. An example, don't click the FX button. That turns it off. Click this little up arrow to collapse it, and it will say the value is coming out of the script. Now, what I was doing was passing that FD under data under trigger under blah, 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 to a script include function to go through and process it, then stick it in the field where I wanted it. That's what I was after, or actually return it as a data pill. Let's go and test this. So I have on my to-do table a number of to-dos. Waiting for the to-dos, maybe I missed. And here are 3 of them. Not much detail in there. And if I look into any one of them, I have a nice big text description field. Let's go test the flow. And I tested on, where is it? I'm going to find it. It was, there it is. Just uploaded a video. And I have some links in here, but I'm just going to dump the text in here, look at the execution details. Hooray, my trigger completed because I skipped it. And the create record completed. If I look at the output for the description field, look, I got all the HTML. So it was just one of those confusing things when I was navigating through the data pills, recognizing some of the data pills are at the top level. The common ones, body text, subject, from address. You can get those without going into the inbound_email object. You can just get it from the trigger data, just like any other trigger data that you get from the inline scripts. If you want the HTML, however, you're going to have to go into the record. So that was the quick lesson that I learned out of doing that. So there's 6 important tips that I have for you on Flow Designer. Whew, that was a whirlwind, wasn't it? Thank you for joining me. Sekar likes go with the flow. All right, we'll make t-shirts or something. Sell them on Etsy. In summary, I'm going to continue to learn things. In fact, I think I've already got my first tip on part 2 of this. I don't know when that'll come out. When I get to about 5 or 6, we'll go. I know this was a little longer than I've been doing these previous shows, but I hope you found something valuable. If you did, don't forget to click the like, the helpful in the community, that kind of thing. Let other people know that it's there. If you've got questions, please post them in the community. We've got the wonderful, wonderful community with hundreds of thousands of people participating in it. It is the most vibrant, the most active, and the most intelligent community I've participated in over 30 years of doing online communities and forums. So this is a very special place, and I hope you take advantage of that. Until next time, and next time is, where's my notes? It was hiding around here somewhere. Next time is, not that note. Oh, where'd it go? I had it. It ran away. It ran away. Next time is Thursday, and Thursday is, I should have it right here. We're going to be doing a topical deep dive on, based on another one of John Feist's questions on the form layout. And I also included the list layout. What does the data model look like behind that on views and forms and sections and fields that are on the form? It came out of a question that he asked, how can a client script tell what fields are on the form? And I said, well, okay, let's go into the data model. And as I started outlining that last week, it dawned on me that there's more to it when you start talking about views. You get into lists and related lists. And I'm going to cover all of that so you understand it, and you can use that when you have your own questions about, is this on the form? Is this mandatory? What kind of thing is that? So the whole list and form data model is our lesson for Thursday. Join me 2 p.m. UTC, whatever that is in your time zone, and I very, very much look forward to seeing you there. And with that, I think it's time to play the magic music, and we're out of here. So thanks, bye, take care.